Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and today I'm going to talk to you about the subject of improvisation, and more importantly, managing listeners' expectations in improvisation. This is a subject I've brought up with some of my students recently in ear training lessons, and I thought it'd be fun to do a YouTube video on it. So before I do that, I should probably do the young YouTuber thing and say, if you do enjoy this video, please do hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, turn on notifications and all of that nonsense. Comments below, blah, blah, blah. But onto the subject. So improvisation, and more importantly, ear training when learning to improvise. To me, good improvisation is about connecting the inner ear to the fingers. So being able to hear phrases, melodic content, and knowing how to replicate or create that sound on the instrument. So when working on ear training lessons and phrasing lessons with students, I'm always dealing with this idea of expectations. When dealing with voice leading exercises, I'll often say, you can hear it resolve from here to here. This note should pull down a semitone to here. You can hear that resolution. And actually, in the grand scheme of things, maybe they can't hear that resolution. Maybe the student can't hear these expected places for a line to go, but that's something to work on. Because what I've come to realize just recently is that improvisation can go down one of two paths, and both of these work for an audience. If you're playing phrases and you're playing for an audience, there are two things you can give them. You can give them what they expect, or you can catch them unawares and do something that they're not expecting. Both of those are extremely valuable tools. If you give a listener what they expect, if you give them the resolution that they expect to hear when you're playing your lines, if it goes where they can anticipate it's going to go, that fulfills a listener. That gives a listener a sense of involvement. It gives them that sense of, I'm kind of inside on this. This did exactly what I wanted it to do, and that's a good feeling. On the other hand, you can, in your improvisations, take your phrases in totally different and unpredictable ways. That has a totally different impact on the listener, right? If a phrase is coming towards an end and the listener expects it to go in one direction, and yet with your improvisation you take it somewhere else, that can often catch the listener unaware. Now, it doesn't give that same level of fulfillment in the listener. It doesn't give the listener that sense of, I feel like I'm a part of this. I feel like I understand what's happening. But it does create a different feeling, and that's a feeling of excitement. Oh, where's this music going to go? What's he going to do now? It keeps the listener on their toes. Now, both of these skills are incredibly important to master, and I feel that guitar players in particular, but improvisers in general, can lean more towards one or the other. Now, you spend all this time working on vocabulary that is unexpected, and you've got all of these strange leaps or whatever it happens to be, technical capabilities. And that's cool, but you often lose sight of that original thing, which is before you played an instrument, you were a listener, and part of being a listener was having expectations. If you look at classical music or nursery rhymes or anything like that comes from that more traditional school of composition, you see lots of these strong resolutions in melodies, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. So what I'm going to encourage you to do in your practice sessions is voice leading exercises and trying to train the ear to hear where a phrase wants to go. When I'm improvising, when I'm working with students on improvisation, there's a constant encouragement to always sing everything that you're playing. And I don't mean play it and then sing it. No. I mean really listen. What do I want this phrase to do? Where do I want this phrase to go? And singing that in your mind before you play it. And you can practice this in its simplest form just by playing scales in your mind. Play the first three notes of a C major scale. C, D, E. Can you hear where that next note should be? F, G. Can you hear those notes before you play them on the instrument? I'm using pitches there. I have relative pitch, not absolute perfect pitch. So that actually may have been in a completely different key. But the point is I'm actually thinking, root, second, third, fourth, fifth. Can you hear that happening? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut in two little short improvisations, and I'm going to put a voiceover over them in spots. And the goal here is to get a feel for what I'm talking about here, giving you exactly what you want, the payoff, the lines that resolve exactly where you'd expect them to. They give you that sense of warmth, that sense of, we've come home, that sense of, this feels good, I'm a part of this. And then on the other hand, taking things in a different direction. I wasn't expecting that. Creating that additional level of tension, which hopefully at some point you will then resolve home to that idea of expectation, giving the listener what they want. So let's check those out. Sounds like this. Carried away. A lot of what I'm dealing with there is giving you the things that you're expecting. I'm playing within standard rules of resolutions. I'm giving you the voice leading that you're expecting. So what exactly do I mean by that? Well, if we just deal with the first two chords in the blues, the G chord and the C chord, the important notes on that G chord would be the third, B, the fifth, D, could say F, the seventh, and the root, of course, G. All of that vocabulary hinges on those notes. And the same thing would be true of C. It'd be the same intervals, the root, the third, the fifth, and the seventh, or flat seventh, I should say. But in the key of C, that's giving us C, E, G, and B flat. Now, when it comes to resolving back to a G chord, I just played this. Now, the best thing, or the cleanest way I could resolve to that G would be to shift to these two notes. I've gone from playing the third and the root of C, and then I'm resolving to playing the fifth and the third of G. And that gives you that sense of the chord changing. That's dealing with your expectations. Now, I could do something totally different on that C. I could play the C like this. And then go somewhere completely unpredictable, like... I mean, I played some weird diminished stuff there that actually wasn't the best fitting thing, but that's kind of the point. You can take it in any direction you want. It took a while for me to get to that point of resolution, the sounding like a G chord. So really the exercise that we're dealing with here is always about those resolution points. So to improve this, what I'm going to encourage you to work on is, surprise, surprise, your triad voicings. So I've dealt with this a lot in the past. That'd be G. And then I could also do the same for C. All of those sound like the chord. So we're really learning to deal with the sound of each one of these triads and how can we most effectively voice lead between one triad to another. So what you want to do is you want to take a G triad or a C triad. Let's take the C triad. If I take this C triad here, 5, 5, and 3 on the G, B, and high E strings. The closest way that I can resolve to G without moving too many notes would be here. So I've kept the G static on the top and the fifth fret on the B string and fifth fret on the G string have shifted down to the fourth and third frets. And if we practice that in each position, this C would become this G. This C would become this G. Now this is always going to give us the tidiest of resolutions. So if I play a phrase in C, resolving to G around this, is always going to sound like a strong resolution. If I play my C here, resolving to G around that same triad form around there, is going to give me a very strong sense of resolution. One more time, here's a C, resolving to G. That's cool, and to be fair, I think that that's probably the hardest part of this to work on, is getting those good, strong resolutions that deal with the expectations that the ears kind of want. On the flip side, dealing with something unexpected, taking a phrase that's in C like this, and then going for something in G that's more like, maybe we go, some ropey licks and phrases in there, but that's kind of the point, right? Dealing with and managing those expectations. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to play through a blues, and I want you to get a sense of whether I'm playing the things that you expect to hear, or whether I'm doing something that you go, oh, that's interesting. Both of them are totally valid. So 3, 4. And there we have it, guys. Expectations in improvisation. Hopefully you got something from that. It's something that I'm always aware of, something that I'm constantly thinking about, and I'm trying to improve because I really want to tune my ear into what I'm playing and have a good sense of where do people expect this to go? What can I play to give the listener the thing that they want to hear the most? I think it's a very interesting concept, and I hope that you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So lastly, I would just like to say a huge thank you to these people over here. These are some of my supporters over on patreon.com. They keep making this channel come back and, do more videos. So yeah, they deserve a huge thank you. And if you would like to check us out on Patreon, you can do so for as little as $1, which is cool. Gets you access to my private patron-only Facebook group. Lots of discussion going on in there. I'm very active in there, and it's a good community of people actually now talking about music all day long. So if you would like to check us out over there, you can do so by clicking this button up here. You can subscribe by clicking this button down here. You'll check out 2 more of my videos here and here. Please do let me know any comments that you have on this subject in the comment section below. Let me know if it helped you in any way. And yeah, thank you very much for the support, guys, and I will see you for another video again soon. So get improvising.